So welcome everyone. We are running our monthly Master the Basics cooking class. And so here is really for our newest owners and potentially people who don't have a Thermomix who want to see a little bit of what the Thermomix can do. So I've got the amazing Ilham and Beck presenting today, and they'll introduce themselves as they cook their dishes. So I reckon that's a good starting point. Let's go. Over to you, Beck.
Thank you, Claire. Hello, everybody. So my name's Beck McAlister. I live in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. I've been here for almost 3 years and a consultant for 9 years. So I started my business in Canberra. Tonight I am going to be showing you a couple of quick things. I'm going to show you how to do sautéed onions in the TM6, which is something pretty special that we haven't so high heat mode in the TM6 we haven't had in the previous models. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. And then we're going to turn our sautéed onions into some pumpkin soup. And I've got some little tips too around scaling recipes. So I'll walk through that when we get to it. But for now, I am going to find my recipe for sautéed onions. So I know we have someone who is brand new. So I am going to step through this step by step. So the top left corner of your Thermomix is your main menu. I have saved this recipe from Cookie Do into my weekly meal plan, but if I needed to search for it, I would just open up the Cookie Do search, type in sautéed onions TM6, because that's going to open up the high heat version. Obviously, we could sauté onions in an old model, but this is the high heat version. So in my weekly meal plan, I've added today's recipe. And I think Claire might share the link with these in the chat as well. So this one's the sautéed onions, 200 to 300 grams. I'm only doing 200 grams today, but you can increase it up to the 300 if you need to. So I'm going to press my start cooking button. And step one is to remove your simmering basket because we don't need that right now. I'm tearing off my scales. So every time you take off the lid of your Thermomix, or if you move the measuring cup, or if you make any changes, those scales will go up or down. So I just press the green tear button to go back to 0. And I apologize for those who already knew that. I'm assuming the lowest common denominator here. 20 grams of oil. All right. Then we need our onions. So there's 2 ways to do onions with the Thermomix, right? The way we've kind of always done it is you throw your onions in chopped in quarters or halves, and then the Thermomix chops that up for you, and then you saute. The difference with high heat is we want to have maximum surface area on our onions so that we can get some lovely caramelization happening, which means when we're doing high heat onions, we chop them into little wedges, just like that. So I kind of did half and then each half into quarters. And then those are going to go in like so. And just because I'm actually throwing in a clove of garlic as well. There's actually recipes on Cookie Do that include the sautéed onions with garlic. There's sautéed onion with ginger. There's a few variations that you can really use as a base when you're wanting to add them to like an older recipe. It might be a recipe you've cooked with your 31 or your 5. And that first couple of steps where you chop and you cook your onions, you can replace it with this step. And the reason is it adds more flavor. It adds to that caramelization and the flavor development, which is why it's a bit of a hack. You know, you open up this recipe, you start it, and then you do what I'm doing today and you move on to your full meal. All right, so I need my splash guard for this, which I forgot to get out. This is an extra tool that comes with the TM6, and it's a safety device. So you take out your measuring cup, sit that on the lid, press the done button, so you've confirmed that you've done it. And then what happens is when we lock the arms, this locks in place. So what I've got here now is the high heat mode. I don't know if you can see that. It's the 3 little squiggles. 10 minutes, and then I'm going to be back with you. Ilham, I think we're over to you for your whipped cream now.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ilham. I've been a consultant for 9 years, just like Beck. I think we started the same month, didn't we, Beck? We both had the same Thermomix, which is now November. So I'm in Preston's, New South Wales, and the Serhans. Okay, so I'm going to be making whipped cream, and for I'm going to assume, because we've got Maria who's a newbie, I'm going to actually show you guys how to put the butterfly whisk, because we need the butterfly whisk to whip up the cream. So if you look at the blades like this, you see there's a high blade, and then these are the low blades. So we put it behind the high blade. Not sure if you can see that. And then you just, it's got like little feet, and that sits behind the low blade. Okay, so reach out to your consultant if you don't know what I just did, but it's pretty simple. Just the high blade, behind the high blade, and then twist, just a slight twist. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. Oh, that's the first part of the recipe, is to put in the butterfly whisk, and there's also a video that shows you how to do that. Okay, pretty much just behind the high blade. Okay, or to the left of the high blade. Next thing you do is add 200 to 600 grams of chilled pure cream. Now, I'm going to actually add the full 600 quantity because I'm going to be making butter from the same cream. And I'll just tell you a little story. At my first cooking class 9 years ago, we did a Christmas festive cooking class, and I was doing pavlova, and I didn't check what I was doing, and my cream almost went to butter, like almost went to butter, because I was talking too much. So I'm going to show you the trick of what you have to do when you are whipping up butter, because you can quite quickly go from whipped cream to butter. So we're actually going to take our lid off, and without any time there, we're just going to put on speed 3. And I'm going to actually look through the lid, because if you don't look through the lid, that's where you will go wrong. So you can see the consistency where it changes. And I feel like the older the cream, sorry, the longer it takes to whip into butter, and the quicker, or to whip up at least, and the fresher the cream, the quicker it whips up. So let's see how we go. And it has to be chilled, because if it's not chilled, trust me, I also spoiled heaps of recipes without chilled cream. The only thing, it does splatter everywhere, so yeah. So at the moment, and the recipe actually does say watch carefully through the mixing bowl lid. And it is starting to thicken up right now. I wish I had a camera up the top so you guys can see what it looks like, but when you do your own cream recipe, you'll be able to see it doing this. So starting to thicken up.
So Ilham, are you doing this manually, or are you following the recipe?
I'm doing it manually, but I did show a recipe on the screen to show them the video of the putting in the butterfly whisk. That's the Thermomix, the TM6 has videos. So that was the point of that. But yeah, you can actually, the recipe doesn't give you a time anyway, it just does that.
I wonder, does anyone here not know how to do manual cooking on their Thermomix? Maybe once we're done, we can just do a very quick show.
I don't know how to do anything.
Oh, excellent. We love that. We'll show you.
I always thought it was, but I didn't go.
What I might do, Claire, when I get to the pumpkin soup, because I have to bring my camera close to show a few things, I might actually just show adjusting manually the temperature and the speed and things.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go on mute.
Ilham's gone on mute. Wow, you're on mute.
I thought that Rebecca wanted to show some not now, later, but anyway, perfect timing though. Perfect timing. Here we go. I'll show you the spatula. Ta-da! Perfectly whipped cream. So don't do what I did in my first ever cooking class. Watch what you're doing through the lid so that you can ensure that you get whipped cream and not butter. But speaking of which, I'm going to continue this recipe. Well, I'm going to continue whipping now, because we want to go into butter. So I'm going to get up this recipe and then pull up the butter recipe. And because we've already done the first. No, I can't.
So Ilham, how will we know if we've gone over when making the cream?
You can actually see it. It looks like it's kind of splitting. That's the only way I can explain it. It looks like little lumps in it, so to speak. Yeah, is that I don't know, Rebecca, is that hard to explain it?
I would say it starts to almost look curdled, like it goes a little bit, lumpy.
Yeah.
And there's no saving it once that happens.
No.
It's gone.
No.
But you can do what Ilham's about to do.
Yes, you can just continue and make butter and then add milk to it and make cream after again, eventually. If you want to know how to make homemade cream, I've got a recipe. I can share it with you guys. So with all it is butter and milk, and it makes it into cream. So eventually, after you've made the butter, then add milk and then make cream again. Okay, so this is it's gonna continue whipping for 1 minute on speed 4 this time. So the reason why the whipped cream is on speed 3 is because you want to watch that slowly. Because if you're on speed 4, that's the fastest speed that the butterfly can whisk at. So we want to make sure that with the whipping cream, it's speed 3, and then with butter, it's actually at speed 4. And we can play around the time too.
Just while we're waiting. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I've got chilled water as well as the simmering basket, because we're going to need this to wash the butter. And you can hear it's starting to separate the solids and the liquids. And can you see how it's moving a lot more?
Where's yours up to, Beck? 2 minutes. And we noticed that Ilham's gone from speed 3 to whip to speed 4 to make butter. So Ilham, are you just leaving the timer to count down, or are you?
So this recipe does say you can add an extra 2 minutes if you need longer. So I was just watching. This was only on 1 minute, and I could already hear that it's separated solids and liquids. You can see that. So it just depends on why they say prolong the time by 2 minutes, is because it depends on how fresh your cream is. Okay. So the next step, it says to remove the butterfly whisk. And then before I do anything, I'm going to put the simmering basket in there. And then we're going to use our spatula and the simmering basket. And I'm going to pour the buttercream, because obviously the solids, but I've got so many things in my mind now. The solids is the butter, and the liquid is the buttermilk. So keeping that, and as you can see, I'm pouring all the buttermilk out of there.
How cool is that simmering basket as a strainer? So if you guys have done it the other way, where you pour into the basket, try this one next time. It's much cleaner.
Why is that not how everybody does it?
That's good.
Okay. I just find this convenient. I don't like doing it the other way, so we're just hooking that in there. Let's see if I saw that anymore. Just a few drops. Yep, that's it. And then we're going to add, so the next thing it says is to add 500 grams of chilled water, like I said. So that's all my buttermilk. You can use that later. So I'm going to put the chilled water in.
And Ilham, why is it important for us to add the chilled water?
Because it helps solidify the butter, so it keeps the butter together, as opposed to making a whole, I don't know, soup of the butter. Yeah.
And I think one of the consequences of having not chilled anything is you can over whip before you remove the buttermilk, and it becomes like a sludgy butter. It's not very good.
The other thing I wanted to mention is with this recipe only, I think, washes the, which is what I'm going to do right now, wash the butter once. I tend to like to wash more than once because then it helps remove all that impurities so that the butter lasts longer. Otherwise, I tend to find that if I don't do it more than once, it tends to go rancid, but obviously it's however you want to do.
So what we might do is just duck over to Beck to get the onions out and show that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually going to take these out of the bowl, even though I'm going to be putting them back in to cook my pumpkin soup. What I want to do is get them out so you can actually see the colour and the caramelization on the bottom of the bowl. So I'm just going to tip that up there. So you can already see that beautiful caramelization. And I'm going to pour them into my bowl so that you can see up close what that high heat looks like. So can you see on the base there, there's some actual sort of burnt on bits. Don't freak out by that. Your Thermomix has a browning mode. So when you go into your pre-clean and you select browning, that's actually going to help lift any of those burnt bits off the bottom of your bowl. That's why it's there. If you're not sure where to find that, drop it in the chat and I'll respond. But I think Ilhaam is ready for the next thing.
So like I said, this recipe says to just using the simmering basket just to remove, like separate the solids from the liquids. And obviously this time around, it's just dirty water. And I like to water my plants with these. And so that's your butter right now. But again, if you want to do it more than once, definitely. And then it's another video that shows you how to store your butter. But I think Claire's got a butter bell that we saw at the mix shop that she might want to show us.
I just will grab that.
Sorry, did I forget to show you? Oh, Rebecca has one, Claire. Oh, she's one off too.
I'll just show you mine while Claire runs to her kitchen. So this is a butterbell, guys. They're from the mix shop. They come in, I think, 2 colours. And the way it works is this top bit that lifts out, you fill that up with your butter. I don't have any in mine right now. You fill that up with butter, smoosh it in nice and hard with your spatula. And then this section, you half fill with cold water. And then what happens is you can keep this on the bench. So you literally put your butter upside down in the water, keeps it fresh, but spreadable on the bench. So it doesn't go really rock hard. And the water helps to keep the air out, which makes it stay fresh for longer. Sorry, Claire, I jumped in.
I'm glad. And I like your colour better. Mine's white.
So I'm just using my fingers because what I'm going to do is what the video showed is just wrap it in like Glad wrap or cling wrap at least, because I'm going to freeze mine until I'm ready to use, because I have heaps of butter in the fridge already as is. So I don't need any more. And then I'm going to just pour the water out because I'm going to go straight ahead. I'm going to go straight ahead and use the because I'm going to be making buttermilk. Buttermilk bread with that buttermilk I just made. Let me just get that up. Oops.
So I reckon Beck gets her soup on. What do you reckon? And then we come and make the dough.
Yeah, good idea.
I think the timing that will work better.
I'll go on.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Moving right along. All right, so my recipe, once again, for the pumpkin soup, I've saved to my weekly meal plan. There's a whole cookie do lesson around how to do that. We're not going to cover that today. Pumpkin soup. Now, I am going to just bring you guys a little bit closer because I want to show you some things on the screen whilst I do this. Bear with me. All right. So what we've got in some of our recipes, guys, we have something called scalable recipes. So when you scroll down in Cookie Do, some of them, the serving size here has a little box around it. When you touch on that, it gives you the option to scale your recipe up or down. So I'm actually going to scale this down today just for the benefit of time. I hit apply. And what this does is it automatically adjusts all the list of ingredients. So it will halve everything automatically. And it will also slightly adjust the cook times as well. All right, so I'm going to hit start cooking there now to start my recipe. Whoops, and I am going to start a new recipe. So this is the step in the original recipe that I am replacing with my beautiful browned onions, right? So instead of cooking it like this, where it chops it for a few seconds and then sautés it, I'm actually going to put back in, and I'm moving you back up here now, I am going to put back in the onions that I've already cooked. All right, but with that, I'm adding my 10 grams of butter, which the recipe says to do, because the butter didn't go in with the olive oil in this step. So I'm just going to pop those back in. To that, we're going to add our pumpkin. So the general rule with your Thermomix, guys and girls, is as long as something fits through the hole in your lid, it isn't too big. So the main difference or the main exception to that rule is anything that's really, really dense. So carrots, you need to chop a little bit smaller. Parmesan cheese, 2 to 3 centimetre pieces, okay? But anything softer, so pumpkin is quite soft, so you can leave that quite big. Onions, that sort of thing, you can leave those quite large. So what we're doing here, I'm tearing that off again and I'm adding in 250 grams of my pumpkin. I'm adding half a carrot cut into pieces. I didn't peel my carrot, guys. There's goodness in the skins of things. Leave it on. Just make sure they're washed well. Lid's going to go on now. And there's a little trick here. So because my bowl is already hot, and your Thermomix is very clever, when the bowl is hot, it slowly comes up to speed. So occasionally when you're cooking something, you may run out of time on your clock before the thing has finished chopping. So just keep an eye on that. It shouldn't happen with this recipe, but occasionally you might find that. The other thing you'll notice with this one is because the bowl is hot and it's dialing up slowly, I do find the pumpkin soup, your Thermomix will wobble around a little bit as it's chopping. That is perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. So measuring cup in the lid, and it's preset 10 seconds on my timer, and it's preset speed 7. So if for some reason I didn't want to do speed 7, I could literally touch on the speed dial and change it to a different speed. I could also add or take away time. So if I wanted to chop this for 15 seconds instead of 10, I just touch on the timer dial and I manually adjust it. So that's what we talk about when we talk about manual cooking. So let's quickly do that. I'll chop that on speed. The other thing with the Thermomix, guys, is you learn to cook with your ears. So you can hear once the thing has been chopped. Like I could hear after, I think that was about 3 seconds, that pumpkin was already chopped and flicked to the sides of the bowl. Let me show you what it's done. Right? Finely chopped pumpkin and carrot, ready for cooking. So to that, we just need to add some water. I'm going to grab some out of my kettle, but your measuring cup in the top of your Thermomix bowl is actually a measuring cup. So when you fill it to the top of the little line, that's 100 mils, which means you could just do a couple of capfuls. Oh, my kettle's got no water in it. Hang on. Sorry, Ilham.
No apologies needed at all.
Keeping it real, people, keeping it real. All right. Sorry. Oops. I only need 250 grams of water because I've halved the recipe. And I'm just watching the scales as I pour and being careful not to rest the kettle onto the Thermomix because it can feel the weight. All right. To that, we are adding our veggie stock paste. So Maria, I'm not sure who your consultant is and if you've had your delivery yet, but typically a consultant will make this veggie stock paste with their new customer. It makes quite a lot, about 800 grams usually, and I just store mine in the fridge. So about half a tablespoon of stock paste. Rough enough is good enough in my kitchen. And then we're going to put the simmering basket on now because we're cooking over 95 degrees. So whenever you're following a recipe and you're over 95 degrees, you'll be prompted to sit your simmering basket on the lid. If you're doing manual cooking and you're over 95 degrees, it will ask you for the same thing. It's a little bit of a safety thing. Please do it. And I'm going to turn this on for 15 minutes and go back to Ilhaam's bread.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. So I've already pulled up the buttermilk bread recipe. And so we click on start cooking, and we are going to use the buttermilk we made earlier when we made the butter. So I'm going to just turn those scales, because I removed the lid, and so it removed the weight of the scales. And then I'm going to add 180 grams of the buttermilk. And this is a good way to use up the buttermilk from that recipe, from the butter recipe, or you can do whatever else you want to do. So, and then the next thing to do is to add 200 grams of water. And then next thing we're going to add in is our 2 teaspoons of dried instant yeast, or if you've got fresh yeast, then you can add 20 grams of that. So I'm just going to use, since I've got instant, I'm just going to use 2 teaspoons. That. And then next, we're going to put on the lid. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed that I did not wash the bowl from the previous recipe. I just continued on with making the bread with the same dirty bowl from when I made the butter. So what it's doing right now is it's going to warm or heat up that, or activate the yeast at least for 3 minutes on 37 degrees, and the blade is moving at speed 1. So literally just, like I said, activating that yeast, warming it up before we add the flour, and then just going to knead it. That's pretty much what that is all about. So earlier when I was whipping up the cream and when I was doing the whipping up the butter, I could hardly hear what anybody was saying. So that's why I said I'm going to go on mute, because I thought Rebecca was saying something. But I just actually wanted to mention that, I'm not sure if anybody else mentioned it before, that when I feel like, I don't know, Rebecca, you might be able to confirm this too, or even Claire, I feel like I learned more using my Thermomix by becoming a consultant than if I wasn't a consultant, because you actually use it to its full potential. We learn how to use it. We learn from, not only we get obviously trained, but we share so much knowledge with our fellow consultants, and we get so much besides our consultants, from our customers too. Like I said, Rosemary had a Team 31, so she's been a Thermomix user for ages. So we learn from everybody, and I don't know. I just feel like the best way to learn to use your Thermomix's full potential is with
Totally agree with you, Ilham. And in fact, when I joined up, I had a TM31. I'd never cooked with a TM5. So I had a demo. I bought my TM31. I'd never seen a demo of the 5, but I wanted to become a consultant because I loved the business opportunity idea. So I did the Earn program. My TM5 arrived. I hadn't ever cooked with it before the day of my practical training. And I learned as I went, and it was so much fun, and I really just jumped in the deep end. But I think actually it's the best way to learn, is just to start.
I don't know, I also feel like, coming from another country, I'm South African, for those of you that don't know, I don't know, maybe you picked up my accent, coming from another country and not having friends or family, it was such a good opportunity for me to, I built a community. Do you know what I mean? I built a family with my consultants and my fellow, my customers and my fellow consultants. So yeah, I love the camaraderie, the family, that sort of relationship. Yeah.
And I love how much I've learned from not just the other consultants around me, but my customers as well, because I've met so many different people. Like I think I nearly have 600 customers now. So it's amazing. It blows my mind. But they're all so different and different backgrounds, different skill levels. And I sucked in all that knowledge and now I get to share it with my customers. It's fantastic.
100%. Totally agree. Sorry, Beck, I'm going to show you guys. So the next thing that they say to do is to grease your loaf tin. Now this is they sell this in our mix shop, and I love this because actually you can have a flat top if your kids are fussy and they want the store-bought sort of shape. So that gives you that. So we do sell that at the mix shop. So I grease that with butter because the recipe does include butter before you cook it. It tells us to put melted butter on the top when we put on our seeds. And then, so the next thing is to actually weigh in, and I keep weigh in 500 grams of baker's flour. So I didn't pre-weigh because I wanted to show you guys the scale, so especially for newbies. So that's 138 grams, 300 grams. And if you're anything like me, look, I am a messy cook. As you can see, I spill everywhere. So I try and clean up as I go, but so you don't have to be perfect is what I'm trying to say as a consultant at all. I mean, who is perfect? No one's perfect, right? So here we go. 500 grams. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. I've just got this is my little salt that I used when I take to customers. And so I didn't even think to check if it was filled, but anyway, that's enough. That's a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to add the lid on. And then 6 minutes on speed 6, that's just going to mix it through quickly. And next thing it's going to do is, it tells us to keep the measuring cup in, and then it's going to, for 3 minutes, it's going to knead the dough. So this is the only time that we usually say don't walk away from the, the Thermomix, but this is the main time you don't walk away from the Thermomix because it does dance. So you want to watch that it doesn't dance off your bench top. But I love that we've got these glider boards because actually I feel like it prevents it from dancing off the bench top now. So it is a host reward, guys. So definitely book in a demo or purchase it from the mix shop. Yeah, so just turning that around and you'll see.
Awesome. What do we got? 3 minutes of kneading?
Yep.
And Beck, yours is still cooking? Okay, cool. Shall I jump us over to Cookie Dough? So we're just going to give you guys a quick squiz of Cookie Dough. Some of you might be very new to this platform. This is the most incredible platform, and this is what makes our Thermomix so incredible. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a quick show. If we have buttermilk, we can just type that into the search, and it brings up all of our recipes, initially with buttermilk in the title. And then as we go down a little bit further, things with buttermilk in the actual recipe. So we might decide we want to make a buttermilk collection because we love making butter and it's a little bit cheaper than buying butter. And we want to use up our buttermilk. So today we're doing the buttermilk bread. Sometimes you'll see there's multiple recipes and occasionally you'll find that they might be from a different country. So you can see this one here has ounces. So this is the US version. If you scroll down a little bit further, you can actually see the collections that they come from. So this is from Artesian Bread's collection in the United States and the Thermomix Sensor bread. I generally prefer the Aussie or UK ones. Sorry, the Aussie ones. Yeah, even the UK, because I don't like to use ounces. It's just a little bit more annoying because I don't know what I'm putting in. And so here's the Australian one. I go in, you can see that there's grams. If you wanted to have a little look, here it is in our basic cookbook. You guys have this basic cookbook, whether you've got a TM5 or a TM6, you would have a copy of that. So I might go, okay, I really love this buttermilk bread. I'm going to give it a rating. I'm going to give it 5 stars. Generally, I'll rate recipes around the 4 or 5. If I don't like them, I may not rate them at all, just because for me, it's about personal preference sometimes. So I want to create a buttermilk collection. So what I'm going to do is create a new collection, and I'm going to call it Buttermilk Recipes. I'm going to save that. So when I want to find that, I go into my recipes, and here I can actually access in my created. I can find it underneath all of the cooking classes in Buttermilk Recipes. And so anything I save in there will come here. These will also be accessible on your Thermomix, and you'll be able to find those in the little hamburger into the recipes section. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you, so that's if you were to add to your buttermilk collection, you can just go and type more in. We've got a search function. To learn a little bit more about this, we encourage you guys to come along to one of our Cookie Do workshops. We go in depth in how to use the search, how to do the weekly meal planning and recipes. But for those of you that are new, I just want to show you, you can actually search by collections as well as recipes. And this is, I find if I'm looking for something particular, I find, or so, you know, I'm looking for a theme, something like that, that I find collections a bit easier. And so you can type in, you know, if I'm looking for a chicken collection, you can type in, and then every collection comes up that has chicken in it. And so you look inside there and you get a bit of a selection on the types of dishes that you can access. So that's just a little bit for now. Ilham, we're probably back to you by now, aren't we?
Yes, so I'm going to, my dough's done. I'll just show you guys what it looks like. Perfect. I love Thermomix dough. It's always perfect. You can't mess it up. There's no way that you can mess up Thermomix dough ever. But anyway, what it's telling you to do now is to wrap that in my silicone Thermomix mat, or if you don't have this mat, you can put it just like the old way, the usual way, in a oiled bowl with cling or whatever to cover, a tea towel to cover it. So I'm just putting it upside down. I'm just twisting the bottom of the blade, just back and forth to drop the dough. So if your dough tends to be, can you see it's coming out slowly? If the dough tends to be stickier, then it does take a bit longer to just drop out. And then all you've got to do is just use your spatula, try and get up as much as you can. And then once that's done, you still have some stuff on your blades. I'll just put my, oops.
I did find this one quite sticky when I made it earlier.
And the water is it's a wet. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to home, and then I'm just going to quickly chop up or
spin your blades.
Spin the blade so that I can flick the dough that's been stuck around the blades to the side of the bowl, so it's easier to actually remove it from the blades. So that was quite a quick one, but as you can see, it's on the sides of the blades, on the sides of the bowl at least. And then I'm going to use my spatula again, and just to get that all out. That's like a whole slice of bread there, just with that was stuck on the bowl. Okay, it's out. And then we're going to wrap this, make it into a bit of a ball, but I've got a bit of dough stuck in my fingers. So we're just going to wrap it up. I'll show you, bring it down a bit, and then wrap it up just to keep it warm, so until it like proves and doubles in size. And then once that's done, I like to wrap it in a tea towel too, because it's nice and warm and it keeps it warm. And this is our branch old towel from, I think, 2019. Okay, so then I've got it wrapped up, and it will prove until it's doubled in size. So about half an hour. Once that's done, I'll release the air and put it in the tin, the loaf tin, and then that will prove for another half an hour. And then we'll put it in the, we'll first brush some melted butter on the top, and we'll put in whatever seeds, sesame seeds, poppy seeds, or I like to add everything bagel, which is also a recipe on the on Cookie Do. And then that cooks in the oven for about 45 minutes or until brown. And then I think, Claire, you've got the end result.
I do. So I had the pleasure of making the bread and having it ready. I made this earlier. I didn't have any buttermilk, but I did have cream in my fridge, so I had to go through that process. But you can see I used the loaf tin. I put it into 3 balls, and it was quite hot today, so it rose really, really quickly, and it was like spilling out of my thermomat. But you know, like I'm pretty proud of that. Like that rose, I reckon if I put the lid on, I would have been in trouble with this one. So let me just show you. I've got the knife from the mix shop. This is the one, normally has a guide, but I prefer to have it without. And I reckon this is just, look how light, look how fluffy that is. I actually had to stop the family from eating it. So you can see that's beautiful and soft. Amazing. How exciting. Like a full white loaf I'd buy from the shop. And look, now I can take that to my family and they can actually eat it. Now that it's not hot.
Jane was saying that she's gluten-free, and that's perfect because Claire's gluten-free, and there's heaps of gluten-free recipes on bread recipes and bread roll recipes, or grain-free recipes, yeah.
Yeah, I make these beautiful breads and I just have to sit there smelling them. But that's okay.
All right, are we ready to see the blending? Yeah, awesome. So guys, that was 15 minutes on my pumpkin soup. It's now prompting me to add 15 grams of cream. I actually don't have any, but I do have some sour cream. So I'm just going to use that. Just a little spoonful of that. And then we're going to blend. So your Thermomix, guys, can blend at really high temperatures. It's one of the things that sets it apart from lots of the other food processors and blenders out there on the market. My bowl is currently at 98 degrees, and I can tell that because when on the temperature dial, there's 2 numbers. There's the set temperature and then a tiny one that pops up above, which is the current bowl temperature. So right now, 98 degrees. I'm going to blend this soup for 1 minute, so you won't hear this because Zoom cuts out the background noise. But I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. One thing to keep in mind when you are blending hot things, your Thermomix recipes, or if you're not following a recipe, you know, 31 days, I think, Rosemary, you've probably done it this way forever. You start on a low speed, so speed 5, and then gradually increase to speed 9. That's a safety thing. It just ensures that there are no large chunks left uncooked inside your bowl before you start blending. Because back in the old days, when measuring cups didn't lock into the bowl like this one does, you had the risk of something big and chunky flicking up and hitting that measuring cup and it popping out. So that's the reason that we gradually increase. So I'm going to do that now. Claire, did you have anything else you want to talk about, or Ilham?
If you guys don't, I was going to show a quick gluten-free bread collection. Just for those that can't have gluten, because I know one of the reasons we get a Thermomix, some people get a Thermomix, is because of the allergies and intolerances in the home. And that's also a great reminder if you do have someone who's sort of trying to get those sorts of foods on the table, let them know about Thermomix, host a demo, get them over, get your consultant to show them, because it makes life 1,000 times easier, healthier, and cheaper. So this is my gluten-free carb favorites, and I like to put them in a collection because sometimes you forget what a recipe is called and you can't find it again. And some of these ones are ones recommended to me and ones that I've tried for myself. So if you want a copy of this collection, I can absolutely share it with you, but I'll have to share it through the app, and I'm on my computer. And so I can get that in a wrap-up email to you guys. I'll share my gluten-free favorites. I've also got my favorite breads collection. So these are mostly non-gluten, sorry, mostly glutinous breads. But I'm sure Beck and Ilham have a lot of their own favorites as well. So yeah, one of the great things is we can share our collections with each other.
That chia and pepita gluten-free bread is absolutely delicious. I just see the collection now.
That's right. And if you want to do like a replica of the buttermilk bread but gluten-free style, it's not the same, but you know, it's a loaf and it's gluten-free.
All right, we back to me.
Yeah.
Here's a little tip for you all. you can use the lid of your Thermomix a bit like a funnel. So I've got a standard size mason jar here, and I've got my dirty lid. I'm going to sit the lid on top of my jar whilst I'm pouring my soup into my jar. This one doesn't quite fit down over the neck of the jar, so I will have to hold it so it doesn't wobble around and fall off. But basically, you can then just pour your soup. This is a great sort of way to do meal prepping. You can freeze all of this. So it's not all going to quite fit, but you get the picture.
And it's really great doing the funnel when you're pouring things like spice powder, spice mixes out, because it's very hard to funnel those in a stream.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
there we go. That's pumpkin soup. I'll actually probably freeze that because it's been a bit warm for soup lately.
Amazing. So is that us done? Have we got anything
Done?
done? Beautiful. Well, guys, if you have any questions about hosting a demo or joining our team, stick around. We'll hang around for a few minutes and answer those questions for you. Otherwise, thank you for joining. Enjoy using your Thermomix, and we absolutely encourage you to lean in and get involved. Come along to an in-person cooking class, and see that question, Beck. And yeah, hosting a demo is a really great way as well to learn some more.
In answer to Rosemary's question, it is literally a case of going into your Thermomix manual screen to clean the bowl. You swipe across, you go to the mode that says pre-clean. You put a litre of water in the bowl and a little bit of vinegar, because if you've got browning on the bowl, the vinegar helps release it a lot better. And then you turn this dial around to the one that says browning, and that's then going to heat the water and wash the bowl for you. On your pre-clean, you've got 5 different settings. So there's a short mode, which is like 1 to 2 minutes, dough, universal, fat and caramel, or browning. And each one of those, it gradually heats the water a little bit more and washes for a little bit longer. So have a play with that. Makes it much easier.
Awesome. And there's so many modes to learn about. So yeah, get involved. Let us know what you want to know more of. And there's some recordings as well. So we'll share our just some different places that you guys can go to get some information. So
Thank
thank
you,
you,
ladies.
huge thank you to Beck and Ilham. Really appreciate you guys giving up your kitchen tonight and sending your families off to the other rooms.
My
and
family is still loitering, waiting for their dinner that I cooked them because I didn't get time to serve it.
Oops.
Mine,
All right.
anything tonight.
Thank you, ladies.
I don't know.
Thanks, everyone. Stick around if you have questions. We'll stay in chat.